All right, welcome back. It's day 11 for the 12 days of Christmas. We've got 2 days left, and your last day, oh, it's marked day 10. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. It's actually day 11. And this package is a clear case. You're like, oh, fancy. Thanks, Melissa. So I use clear cases for a lot of things in my craft room. I use them to store embellishments. I use them to store memories and more pieces. They're a great organizer. They're just a DVD case. You can use a label maker on the side. When we used to have the wide ones, I'll show you my old watercolor pencil holder. So this was a printout that someone made years ago. It doesn't apply anymore because we have totally different colors now. But what I made for the inside was a holder. And so I want to show you how to make this panel and how it's pretty easy. And we're going to make the same thing, but for this case. So you're going to have a piece of DSP. If you have 12 by 12 and you have a pattern or something you want to use, I really liked this black and white pattern at the time. What's nice about it is that you're just going to use one piece. If you don't have one piece, you can actually use 2 pieces of your 12 by 12 or one piece of your 12 by 12. And I was looking at one, I thought this one would be kind of cool. So I'm just going to cut this in half. I'm going to cut it down a little bit. So mine will be a little bit smaller, but let me show you. So I'm going to cut it at 3 inches. And we're going to make a fresh one of these. So the one thing you'll want is some kind of board, like a backer board. You could use like an old paper pumpkin insert or something like that. I think I've got a couple of those here, so I'm gonna use one of those. If you have something a little bit thinner, so the paper pumpkin inserts are pretty thick now. You might want something a little thinner. This might have been from an old, I don't know what. But we want a piece, and I'm gonna get my ruler out because we want a piece that's 4 1/4 by 3 if you're gonna use this style. If you're gonna go with this style, then it's 4 1/4 by 3 1/2. So I'm gonna cut this over here. And you're going to want 2 pieces because what we do to make this work and to make it sturdy enough is you need a piece in the back and the front. So now I did not glue these down when I made these. When I did this the first time, I think that with a new rendition of this, I think I would probably go ahead and glue these down. And what I would recommend is that you do a piece. So you do one piece that kind of comes flush here. So do a flush piece here. And then you can score this and score it and then wrap it. And I think it's about 1/4 inch. So I could score it or I could just manually eye it, right? But we just want something that's big enough to fit, you know, the pencils in. And then we'll do the same thing with this one. So we'll do just a little bit here. You're basically just creating a nice holder for your pencils. What I like about it is that you, when they're in the case, they're just easier to manipulate. And that paper case that they come in it just doesn't last very long. It's not that great. So, all right, so then we're going to go ahead and we're gonna get a piece here. And we're gonna get a piece here. What do I do with this? Let's see. Not bad. Hopefully not too tight. No, that's pretty good. Now, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to do this. You could use this for some other reason, right? But I thought that this was a nice way to store them, and I wanted to show you like an alternative, you know, method for storing your pencils. So, okay, good. So, if you've got them in here, what I like about it is that they all fit. And hopefully, if I've done it right, the blender pencil is going to fit too, which is really nice. So, let's see. My blender pen fits in here too. Nice. Blender pen's a little bit wider, so maybe make the score line a little bit bigger. Those cases were pretty thick back in the day. I don't know where the rest of the pencils are, but you know, they're here somewhere. Either way, now I've got a nice case. There's more pencils. Oh, here they are. I was like, where'd the rest of them go? So now I've got a nice case for all my pencils, and maybe you want to store your blender pen in here. Maybe you don't. I actually think it probably fits a little bit better without it. It's a nice size. Perfect. So I like to be able to have my pencils in here. I think it's a handy way to store them. And hopefully you do too. All right, we have one more project that we're gonna do, and it's actually today. So this is our last card that we're gonna make. And I've got the cards here somewhere. All right, we're gonna use this piece of DSP. And we have a card base that's a thick white card base, and then you have a piece of the other part of the window that I was telling you about. So what I did for this one was I actually stamped the gate here. So you're gonna get your gate, and if you want to practice on a sample piece of paper, I think it's probably a really good idea, because when I did it, I was a little bit crooked and I was a little sad because I wanted it to be straight. So I know that I've got to be a little more, you know, I'm going to lean a little bit. And I would recommend that you stamp this in StazOn. And then we're gonna color it in with some of that pecan pie, and it's really gonna make that gate stand out. You could stamp it in black as well if you wanted, but I feel like the brown is just a little more forgiving. So we're gonna stamp that. Yay, and you can see where the gate is. Now again, this is another one where I definitely had to get the stamp case out, and I had to, I really had to see where I was coloring, because I was like, is that part of the gate, or is that, you know, I couldn't tell what was what. And so for me, it was really helpful to do that. And then I did come in and try to color a little bit with the old olive, some of the greenery and leaves. But you definitely want to make sure that you get your gate nice and stamped and colored, and make sure you get the bottom. And if you lay down some really thick color, then you'll be able to see the, you know, the full gate, which is nice. And then there is like a path here, and I thought that was a really nice opportunity to get the basic gray out and just kind of, you know, you can kind of accent some of these little stepping stones here. And so I was enjoying that. And then you could come in with something like a fresh freesia, or you could come in with, if you wanted something a little bit darker, maybe you decide to use the blue for the flowers. I don't know. But there are some flowers down here. And again, I used this as my guide. Like, okay, here's one flower, here's two. Okay, I go up. Maybe there's some more flowers here. I kind of felt like if I couldn't see the flowers, then maybe there wasn't, you know, a point to coloring them. But I definitely wanted some of the, you know, some of the leaves and things. I wanted some accent pieces. So I went in and kind of added a little bit of greenery in here. And who knows, maybe only the gate is visible and nobody actually knows that I did anything else here. But that's okay. I feel better knowing I did a good job, right? All right, so I'm going to kind of color some of these blue flowers in. And then we're gonna get some of this greenery that I felt like was important to get colored in. And then the path, I'm just gonna kind of soften those lines up a little bit, right? Just by adding a little bit of color. And then I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna do my fence posts or my gate posts. Now I did a pretty unexact thing when I did this. Instead of trimming the paper before I did it, I actually put this where I wanted it and I glued it down, and then I just trimmed it with scissors because I wasn't feeling good about like pre-cutting this and then being able to line it up. So I just went in and because I wanted as much of this as possible right down here. No one's gonna see that on the back side, so no big deal. They won't know that I went super low on here. All right, so we're gonna let that dry. We're gonna add, I did the little birds on here, and I did a 3-piece twine bow on the corner because I thought it was really nice. I did nothing on the inside. Again, you could add a little sentiment or a little piece, but I just felt like adding this little gate on here just made this scene so cute. So I am just gonna come in and trim right up to the piece. And yes, that does mean that you won't have any extra from here, but that's okay. And then I popped this whole panel up on dimensionals because I think it gives a little bit of interest and height to the card. And so, oh, I've now made a sticky mess on my work surface. Yeah, I'll come back for that later. All right. Oh, it'll just roll right off. So here we go. I do like this glass mat. It's fun. All right. Now we'll just need our dimensionals. And I would recommend just one in the middle too, just to support the card. I know that's controversial. Some people don't put one in the middle because they don't want the post office to think it's not flexible. Like it kind of helps with the shipping, but I don't know. I don't like to see a concave card. All right, so there we go. All right, so that is it for day 11, and hopefully you had fun with the little gate on the path. And there's a couple of other scenes that have paths on them that you could stamp a gate and kind of play around with. So I hope you enjoy doing that. We have one more day. It's day 12 tomorrow. See you then. Bye, y'all.